Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fed Snacks, a show where we bring you quick bites of insights from former federal tech officials. Today, we're talking to Brian Conrad, former FedRAMP Director, and he is currently the Director of Global Strategic Compliance Initiatives at Zscaler. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Ross. Great to be here.
Okay, so I want to talk about your background first. I mentioned you were Director of FedRAMP, but you also
Sure.
wore a lot of hats at GSA. So tell me a little bit about your background and what you did do in those roles.
My professional background spans 3 decades, 20 years of that being in the United States Marine Corps. And so talking about transition, there's that aspect of transitioning from military to civilian life. And then from there, I went to Booz Allen for 7 years. And then I was fortunate enough to get into a position at the FedRAMP PMO, and I spent just over 5 years there before coming to Zscaler. At FedRAMP, I basically wore two hats for more than half my time there. I was originally hired as a cybersecurity program manager, which is essentially I was running the lane with the Joint Authorization Board authorizations. 2 years into the gig, I fleeted up to be the acting director, and I spent about just over 3 years in that role.
So you've been at Zscaler for about 2 years now. Can you walk us through what that transition was like going from the federal government to private industry?
Based on the hard work that I've done over the years to establish a professional reputation, that in networking led to this opportunity at Zscaler. And, you know, coming in, there's a certain sense, being a veteran one, there's a certain sense of recognition of what you do, what you're, the value that you bring to an organization. And that's always the biggest challenge is understanding, what your value proposition is in your head versus what the value proposition is that you're going to bring to a for-profit company. Again, different mindset than being in the federal government. In the federal government, I want to make this organization run as best as possible. I want the FedRAMP program to be as best as possible under the governance constraints that we had. But going into private industry is how can what I bring to the table bring value to the bottom line of the company, and that's always a you know something that I've had to learn is how to think entrepreneurially in that um, finding things that I can do to support our company's mission and my team's mission to that ultimately bring value. And that's where my experience in FedRAMP can help illuminate a conversation to say, hey, it's not just good for the company, it's good for the government. It creates efficiencies to get secure commercial cloud services into your government arena domain for your agencies, ministries, whatever to use.
People who are looking to transition out of government, people who have just transitioned out of government, how do they navigate that? What kind of things have you found the most helpful?
A lot of opportunities come through networking. Somebody knows the quality of the work that you do. They know of somebody who's looking for somebody where that may fit, and then the person gets plugged in there. The second thing is making sure that your resume doesn't wear combat boots. And I know that sounds, and I use that as a transition more so for the military because military people like to put, and government people too, like to put things on their resume in government speak. Um, a an HR specialist in whatever company is not necessarily going to understand what that means. So you need to take out the jargon and the lingo that you used in government or in the military and put it into something that somebody who doesn't have that experience can understand. The third thing, heard this a lot, bloom where you're planted. Okay. You might not end up in the ideal job. But your performance there, even in a job that you think is less than ideal, is going to speak volumes about your professional credibility and your work ethic, rather than just phoning it in because you're not in the ideal job. Performance is recognized when you're going that making that extra effort. Folks realize that, and so when opportunities come up, that's how you stay in the forefront of people's brains.
Yeah, certainly your reputation is as valuable as anything in every industry, public service, private industry, whatever. Brian, thanks so much for doing this with us.
Oh, my pleasure.